What's up, everyone in YouTube? Randy coming back at you again, and I want to give a shout out to a couple of people that's left comments. We have Sharon. Give a shout out to Sharon. She asked about the mold bottom, which I want to go over in this video real quick. And then Kenny, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, and asked about mixing colors. So we're going to talk about that as well in this video. First thing I'm going to talk about is what Sharon asked, and that's this mold here. Okay, this is the mold I used in the last video. Now when you buy this mold, and I'll leave a link in the description down below, but when you buy this mold, there's a little tip or whatever you want to call it that sticks up right here in the center, and I don't know if you can see it that well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it to where you can see it. If I can figure this out here, there we go. You can kind of see it right there, but basically it sticks up to the very top of this, and it's there so it creates a hole in the bottom. What I did was I just cut it off right close to the bottom. So let me turn the mold inside out, and then we can take a look at it here, and you can see just how close. Let me get it to the dark there. Just how close I cut it off to the bottom of the mold. Okay, you can kind of see it sticking up right there. You see it sticking up, and so I left just a little bit up, sticking up, and that leaves just a little indentation in the bottom of the mold, and that kind of helps you center your wicks if you don't have a centering device. Okay, now let's move on to mixing colors. So what we have here is some vessels that I've mixed the colors in. You can see them here. This is one of them here where I mixed blue and red, and you can see it down in the bottom there. And I'm sorry again, I'm the cameraman and the teacher here if you want to call me a teacher. Anyway, so that's one candle there. Here's or vessel. Here's one here where I added a little bit of yellow to some red, and you can see here how it went in the bottom of it. Boy, I tell you what, getting this thing right on camera is a trick. That's a trick, let me tell you. So here's one right here with red and yellow. I was trying to create kind of a fire look, if you will. Excuse me. Here's one here where we mixed some green. My wife mixed some green and red together, or pink. Actually red, but it comes out pink. And she did it in a form where it just barely does show. As you can see here, it just barely does show around it. Okay, so we're going to look and see how to do that today. That's what I'm going to show you today, is exactly how I created something like this. In fact, I'm going to use the red and blue dyes from Direct Colors, which you can get at directcolors.com. This is the blue, and this is the red. Okay, directcolors.com. It's number 121. Okay, and the blue is number 203. Okay, if you're going to directcolors.com. And if you go to directcolors.com, if you call them or anything, let them know that Dove Port Candles sent you there. I don't know that they'll do anything for you, but I think they do know who we are, so you can let them know that Dove Port Candles sent you there. So normally, as you can see, I use this mold here, which is this mold, and this mold creates that larger candle vessel. Okay, so that's normally what I use for those. But today, and I'll leave a link in the description for this mold here too, because that's what creates these particular molds, and I'll leave a link in the description where you can get this type of mold here. This is a 4.5 ounce candle. It holds 4.5 ounces of wax, and you would want to use I use CD12s as my wicks in these, and they burn pretty good. They burn really good. So that's what I normally do it with, but today I'm going to do it with the same mold that I used in the last video. So we're going to use this mold here. So for our protection, we never want to handle cement without gloves on, so go ahead and get your gloves on, and we also want to put a face mask on. Okay, And I'll leave a link in the description where you can get these gloves and face masks at a really good cost. Okay, so I'm going to put my face mask on. Isn't this something that you're used to seeing? I tell you right now, if you're going out and about, you're used to seeing this for sure. So, got my gloves, got my face mask on. So let's go ahead and go back down to our workstation here and start making some of this cement. So once again, for this mold, I have specific instructions written down. My instruction sheet. As you can see, it's a mess. I really need to type all this up. But for that particular mold, I call it mold number 2. And so it says we need to use 225 grams of cement and 45 grams of water to make that particular mold. So we'll go ahead and clear out our I'm on pounds and ounces. I had it set up when I was shipping. You really, if you're going to be serious about making candles or candle vessels or candles, as that goes, you really need a scale. Okay, I'll leave a link in the description to this scale here. It's not that expensive, but you can get more expensive ones. You can get less expensive ones and so on. But I'll leave a link in the description for this particular scale here. Okay, now the first thing what I like to do is I like to put my water in. So I got my water in a cup here. And I know that we're going to be using 45 grams, so we're going to watch for 45 grams to come up on the scale. Now you always want to put whatever you're using to mix in on there and then rip it, which basically zeroes it back out, so you're not weighing the item you're using, in this case a cup, as well. And that's 46 grams of water. I'm not going to cry it. It's going between 45 and 46. Now we want to zero it out again, or some people call it tear it out. And we want to add our 225 grams of cement. So I'm reaching down here in my cement bucket. And I'm going to start my 225 grams of cement. Now this is why we wear a mask. I don't know if you can see that, all that cement powder and dust. But you do not want to be breathing that in. And there's 225 grams of cement. Now, I'm going to use the same cup to measure both of them in there, okay? Now, what I'm going to start with first is the lighter color, and then I'll go with the darker color, since I'm going to be using the same cup. If you're using two different cups or two different ways, or you're going to wash it out, you can start with either color. And as you can see in this particular one here, I started with the blue first and then went with the red. Now one thing you can do, and I didn't do with this, is you can cut that in half. So technically I should have used half of 45 grams of water and half of 225 grams of cement. But I didn't do that. I got overly excited. So half of 45 divided by 2 is 22.5 grams of water. So if you're wanting to do this in that particular mold, it's 22.5 grams of water per color. If you're using two colors, then you use 22.5 grams of water for one color and 22.5 grams of water for the other. And then the cement, 225 grams divided by 2 is 112.5 grams of cement, okay, per color. But since I went ahead and did this, we're kind of messed up now. So anyway, so I'm going to put red first and then blue. And so the way I'm going to do this is, since I did it this way, is I'm going to mix the two colors together, which I have done before. So I'm going to go ahead and put the red in there. Okay, that takes care of the red. Now, just in case you haven't seen any of my videos before, the amount of color that I put in per vessel is, I use a 1/4 teaspoon. So I've got a 1/4 teaspoon here that I use, and I fill it up just level on the top. Okay, just level. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and mix this. So I'm going to take this out and we're going to start mixing. Put that in our water, rinse it off. So all I'm going to do is just pour some of this in the mold. To about halfway. And I'm going to shake it out. Make sure there's no air bubbles in it. Now as you do this, it's going to put the color on the side. Now I can't see if you're seeing that or not, to be honest. There we go. See the color, how it's getting on the sides on the inside as I squeeze it? That's okay. That's what you want, is for that to happen, okay? If you have one of these tables, you can utilize it as well. These tables aren't that expensive, by the way. I think I paid $100 for it. I'll leave a link in the description below. Now what we're going to do is take the rest of this red, and I'm going to go ahead and add blue in it. Since I didn't half and half the mixture. Put that in there. And I'm going to mix this up. Now we have our blue in there as well, as you can see. Okay, now let's go back over to the mold. Now, if you want a look that's more like this, which I need to see what you all are seeing. If you want a look that's more like this, then add both colors now while this one's still wet. If you want it to be more like this, then you need to let the first color harden for about 15 minutes. In this case, I'm not going to let it harden, and I'm going to pour it. Okay, so we're going to pour it all the way to the top like that. I'm going to turn this on. We are going to fold it over on the top like we always do. And rather than you have to sit here and wait for 2 hours for this thing to harden, I'm going to bring you right back in just a second, and it will have been a couple hours later, and we'll see how it turned out. Okay, it's been a couple hours now. I'm going to fill the top of it, and it is cool. So let's go ahead and unmold this, demold it, and see what we've got here. Oh yeah, I'm liking this already. That is nice. Take a look at that. Now keep in mind a couple things. If you want less red and more blue, then don't squeeze it as much. When you're squeezing it, remember how when I squeezed it, it got up inside the mold here on the edges. You don't want to squeeze it as much. And another thing you can do is you can take like a skewer, and I've actually done this before too when making these. And once you get the colors in there, you can skewer it down. Just go around the edge, just ever so often around the edge, and just skewer it down, and that will create a higher blue up in there to create little sections. Other things you can do as well is you can let the first color harden for about 25-30 minutes, and then put the second color in, and that we find that gives us a little bit more of a defined line across it. It'll still mix a little bit and bleed a little bit. If you want an exact line, pour your first color in about halfway up and let it set for about 2 hours. Not about 2 hours. Let it set for about an hour. Pour your second color in, and you'll get a more defined line between the two colors as well. And I've done that before, but I really like the look of the blend. So you can see here how our blue did. And so hopefully this helps you be able to create molds with various colors in them. With this one here, this was a skewered, where I took the skewer and put it inside the mold and skewered it down. And you can see where I skewered it here and here and a little bit here and here to create this effect here. This one here wasn't skewered, but as you can see, it did the same thing basically this blue did. It just got the yellow up in it a little bit more, and then more red down in here. So that's kind of the effect you can get. So I hope this helps you create vessels with multicolors in them. Now you could do this with several colors. You could take the figures and divide them by 3. The 225 grams of cement and 45 grams of water, and divide it by 3. And put one color in, which would fill the mold up to about here. The next color in, which would fill it up to about here. And then the third color in would fill it all the way up. So you could do that as well to create a 3-color effect. So yeah, I hope this helps you out to be able to create some multicolored molds for you. And keep in mind, this is not really a marbled effect, but it does create some awesome multicolored vessels, as you can see here. So be sure to like and subscribe this video for more videos like this. We're going to be creating them all the time. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click that little bell as well. That way you get notified every time we put a new video up. And be sure to look in the description below at all of our links. We have links down there to the molds, the different molds, the different things that we use here at Doveport Candles. And also you'll find our website link down there as well, so that you can go visit our website and look at our different molds and things like that. Maybe you want to purchase one, I don't know. But anyway, have fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, share it with others and let them know how they can make their own DIY. And I got it right this time. The last video I kept saying DIY, but it's do it yourself, so it's DIY vessels. Y'all have a great day. Thanks.